Hi there and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Raluca. In my past videos I talked a lot about lifting my face with makeup visually. So in today's video I decided to gather all my techniques together, everything that I do to make my face look more lifted, and just share them all with you. Let's get started. I got my hair out of the way so you can better see the difference, and I'm just going to do half of my face so you can really see the difference that these techniques make to my face. I'm just going to do this half of my face. First step is foundation. I don't have a tip for foundation, you can do it however you want it to, so I'm going to apply it off camera. Foundation is on. I applied the Fenty Blurring Skin Tint. I reviewed that in my previous video, you can go check it out if you haven't seen it already. And the first and maybe the most important thing that I do in order to lift my face up is brows. When it comes to the brows, you kind of want the end of your brow to be in the same line with the beginning of your brow. Here's a line that's parallel to the ground basically. So the start of my brow and the end of my brow should be kind of in the same place. And better yet, if you can do that with your brows, you can get the tail a little bit above the beginning of your brow, something like this. Mine doesn't really do that. I would need to shave off the tail of my brow in order to achieve that look, which I'm not ready for yet. But if you have that kind of a brow that really points downwards, because I've seen a lot of girls that have a very long tail that comes a little bit downwards, you can try cover that up with concealer, or like, I don't want to suggest anything, but I would actually twist that off, but you do you. You can cover it up with concealer to see if you like that look or not. So first thing that I do is I brush my hairs upwards, especially the tail, to again give that more lifted appearance to my brows. And then I fill them in. Right now I use the brow powder by Anastasia Beverly Hills. Mine is in the shade medium brown, but I just mix these two shades together. And I imagine the overall shape that I want in my brows. Like, for most people, you kind of need filling in the tail of the brow and maybe a little bit underneath the arch. Basically in the outer half of the brow, I try to make it as straight as possible. So I fill things in here a little bit, and the tail. But again, you don't want the tail really pointing downwards. So I do something like this. See, like I drew the tail a little bit above my natural one, because I'm going to lift them up with brow gel. And the rest I'm just going to fill in as usual. In the front you can bring it a little bit downwards, again to kind of have that oblique shape. When it comes to the brows, again, a very important step is to set them in place and set the hairs upwards. I do that with my Benefit 24-hour brow setter. This is the best brow gel that I've tried. It really locks in the hairs and makes them stay in place all day long. I kind of add more product on the tail to make it look like it's pointing straight towards my temples and not downwards. I applied a little bit of color corrector underneath my eyes off camera because, again, that technique doesn't really matter. I just wanted to cover up a little bit of the darkness on my under eyes. Next up comes concealer. A thing that I started doing recently is that kind of a lifting technique that we've all seen online. I'm going to use my Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer. I'm in the shade C6. If you look at your under eyes, most people have a darkness in this area, like in the inner portion, not really in the center of their eye bags, let's say. The discoloration mainly comes here, so here's where I conceal. And also, I conceal here on my outer corner to lift my cheek visually. So here, kind of pointing towards my temple. But for this to work, you gotta make sure that you have a lighter shade of concealer than your actual foundation. And the rest I just conceal as normal. I like concealing here to hide my deep set eyes and also highlight the center of my face. And to blend it in, I'm just going to use my sponge. If you're concerned that your concealer won't cover the center of your eye bags, just know that this concealer will actually blend into the center of your eye as well. But you just want the main concentration to be here. And I'm also going to blend this again towards my temples. I'm actually going to extend it. Something like this. I'm not going to powder yet because I want to add cream contour and cream blush today. When it comes to cream contouring, you can contour with basically anything that has the right undertone. I look for neutral or cool undertone in my contour. Usually for cream contour, I either use my shade sticks from Juvia's Place or this Natasha Denona Face Glow foundation, because I have the shade 45, which for me is a very good shade for contouring. And I like the fact that it's liquidy, so it doesn't add unnecessary coverage to my face. Get some on my hand, like you can see it's really watery. And then I usually take an eye blending brush like this, dip the brush into my contour, really get the product inside the brush, make sure that it's evenly coated, and then I apply the contour again a little bit above. Before I used to contour kind of like this, but that really drags the cheek downwards. You kind of want to lift it up. So I start from the top of my ear here, and I drag the contour towards the center of my face. Like you can see, it's much above my natural contour line, let's say, and then I just blend it. I would also use the sponge to blend the edges. Continuing that concealer technique, so I added concealer here. As you can see, I didn't add contour here. I'm just going to add contour above where I blended the concealer, so right here on my temple. That will give the illusion of a more lifted eye, because I usually connect this contour here with my eyeshadow. And then I just contour my forehead to make it look a little bit smaller, because I need that. And again, I'm going to go over it with the sponge, so everything looks more blended. And then I will sculpt my jawline, although this has nothing to do with the lifting part. And also a little bit on my nose. I like lifting my nose again with contour. If you have that lifted nose already, you're lucky. I don't have that, so I just contour a little bit underneath my nose to make the tip of my nose look a little bit more lifted and pointier. Let's see. For blush, I'm going to use this cream blush by Fenty. This one is in the shade Crush on Cupid. Take the blush on my brush, get the excess on my hand, again to really coat the brush into the product. And this is going to go a little bit above the contour, so keeping it on the sides of my face and also pretty high up to give the illusion of a lifted cheekbone. So somewhere here. I feel like the blush placement is really important. You can see the difference that made compared to this side. And I like applying it here underneath the contour with whatever is left on my brush, so not really a lot of product. Next I'm going to powder off camera, because again that has nothing to do with the lifting process. I'm just going to powder my under eyes and just the center of my face, like my smile lines and forehead. Next I will just apply some powder bronzer, because I am going to be wearing a mask and cream products will transfer onto the mask. But again, placing it really high up. And some powder blush. The next very important step is highlighter. I'm going to be using this e.l.f. Baked Highlighter in the shade Moonlight Pearls. Basically with highlighter you want to emphasize the highest point of your cheekbone. And if that is a little bit lower than you would like it to, you can just apply the highlight a little bit above it. I'm going to take it on my brush and apply the highlighter here, like really high up. And again keeping it away from the center of my face. You don't want to highlight here, because it's going to drag your face down a little bit and it's also going to emphasize your pores. I also like highlighting above my brows. The tip of my nose. I will actually highlight where I want the tip of my nose to be. Kind of here. Like even though the tip of my nose is actually around here. So this gives the illusion of a more lifted nose. My cupid's bow. And my chin. Next comes the eyeshadow. I already primed my eyelids using the Urban Decay primer potion. Again, with eyeshadow you kind of want to extend your eye and make the outer corner look a little bit more lifted. So that's what I'm going to do. You can use any colors you want, although nudes and browns will look the most realistic, let's say. A thing that I like to do to lift my outer corner a little bit is I use a pencil base. This is a brown pencil from Sephora Collection, it's in the shade Tiramisu. And I just apply this on my outer corner, like just here. And with a pencil brush, this is a Morphe M149 brush, I'm just going to blend this upwards. And it creates kind of a soft wing liner. And as you can see, the outer corner looks a lot more lifted. And my eye looks a little bit more extended. I will just use whatever is left on my brush to connect it to the lower lash line. And then again with whatever is left on the brush, I'm just going to add some depth here in the inner portion of my lower lash line to give my eye that kind of a tilted look. The palette that I'm going to use today is the Sigma Warm Neutrals Volume 2 palette. I'm going to take the shade After Hours. I'm going to use the same brush, the pencil brush, to set this pencil in place. Then I will take a transition shade, that for me will be the Toasty shade, again from the same palette, on a Sigma E25 brush. And I will use this to connect my crease to my contour here in my outer corner. So applying it in the outer corner, connecting it to the temple contour that I did. And with whatever is left on the brush, I'm just going to blend towards my crease. And I'm going to try to make this liner a little bit more faded, so I'm going to mix Toasty with henna, I think. Yeah. Go above the pencil to blend it out. Because if you want things to look more realistic, you kind of want to have really blended edges and not sharp lines. I don't know if you noticed, but I do this with my eyes open, so I can see exactly how the shape of my eye is going to look afterwards. Taking my previous brush to further blend things up. With a flat brush like this is a precision shader brush from Makeup Addiction, I'm going to highlight my inner corner and my brow bone using the shade Charmer. So highlighting here, and underneath of the brow it's really important to keep the highlighter just under the arch, because if you bring the highlighter downwards, like towards the tail of the brow, you will actually drag it down visually. And to bring a little bit of light on my lid, I'm just going to use beaming. So you want the lightest shades to be on your lid and the darkest shades in the outer corner. This way you're going to have a more extended cat eye. And I'm going to highlight the center of my lower lash line as well. Blending the edges with no additional product on my brush. I applied some mascara, and to make the change even more dramatic, I'm going to apply some outer corner lashes, because again this will give the illusion of a more lifted outer corner and extended eye. I just made them myself by cutting some of my older lashes, and you can also trim them so the outer corner looks a little bit longer than the inner corner. I applied some lash glue on them, just waiting for it to dry. This is the first time I'm trying half lashes. I just hope they're comfortable, because I usually can't stand lashes. They feel just heavy on my eyelids and I can't stand them. They feel fine. I think I'll be able to wear them all day long and see how that really extends my eye. Wow. I think I'm going to wear these more often. I just did my lips off camera because, again, the way you do your lips doesn't really matter in the overall look. I can really see the difference, especially in my cheeks. And you can see like this eye kind of drops like this. Everything looks a lot more lifted on this side. I finished my makeup off camera, but my hair just sits weird right now. So this is the look all complete. I really hope you learned something new from this video and you found it useful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up down below, it helps me out a lot. That's it, I'm going to head to work right now. I really hope you're having an amazing day, and I hope I'll see you in my next video. Bye!